Good day to the general public. My name is Jameel and I'll be doing a screencast based on the events that occurred in the case of Flight 751. I will discuss to you the main cause of the accident, the ethical and communication issues, and the aftermath effects that arose from this incident. On December 27, 1991, Flight 751 of the Scandinavian Airlines was on its way to Warsaw from Stockholm Airport in Sweden. The plane, a state-of-the-art and newly built DC-9, which is easily recognized by its two rear engines, was piloted by Captain Stefan G. Rasmussen and First Officer Ulf Cedermark. The plane was built by MC Donnell Douglas. The plane had just been de-iced twice, since there was a lot of snow, slush and ice at the airport, and it had 129 passengers on board, including Captain Per Hamburg and air hostess Ingrid Astrom. The flight was cleared for routine takeoff despite the windy conditions. Within a minute and a half into the flight, the two engines were destroyed and the plane was out of control. It crash landed and broke into three pieces in a forested area, despite the pilot's best efforts to keep it in the air longer. There were no deaths thanks to the professionalism by the pilots, assistance by Per Hamburg and the air hostess good ethics. There were only 92 reported injuries, with only 8 of those being very serious. It was believed that the root main cause of the disaster was Captain Stefan's poor ethics and his level of unprofessionalism. However, the main cause of the accident was the automatic thrust restoration system and the ice that remained on the wings. The accident was actually caused because of the ice buildup on the aircraft wings that went into the engines after flight. After the aircraft was de-iced twice, it was believed by the SAS maintenance crew that the wings were cleared of all ice. However, there was some clear ice that were left on the wings, unseen to the human eyes. Though the maintenance workers checked the wings with their hands to feel for any ice, they were limited to a certain area of the wings, since they were not given any ladders to climb and check the entire wingspan with their hands to see if there were any ice on it. This thin layer of ice that remained on the wings were released from the wings during takeoff when the aircraft were moving at a fast pace and when it bent, therefore resulting in all the ice shrapnel going into both engines and damaging its fan blades and fuel lines, which resulted in the engines being caught on fire. This rendered the pilots hopeless in the air and they had to glide the aircraft into a crash land. There were some good ethical issues during this incident. When the passengers came into the plane, the air hostess Ingrid Astrom asked for the heaters to be lowered to make the cabin cooler and the passengers more comfortable. She also instructed the on-ground emergency to the passengers before they crash. This by making them fasten their seatbelts, bend down and hold their knees. This was actually one of the main reasons no one died during the crash. She also waited to ensure all the passengers exited the plane and she hugged some of them to make them feel warm after the crash. Also, there was an exterior check of the plane by the pilot, which showed that he followed aviation rules and codes. The pilot left the cabin doors open to gain the passengers' trust. Per Hamburg went to the assistance of both pilots and he turned the auxiliary power unit, which ensured communication between air traffic controllers and the plane, and he also instructed Captain Stefan to look straight ahead to find the landing spot whenever he lost focus. Also, the rescuers arrived within minutes of the accident to ensure the safety of everyone. However, there were also some bad ethical issues. One being the lack of communication by the engine's manufacturer by not letting the SAS and its pilots know of the automatic thrust restoration, which caused the disaster, and if its existence was known by the pilots, it would have helped prevent the disaster. Also, investigators blamed the pilot for not checking the plane, and they believe that he raised the engine's power when he should have instead lowered it. But he did in fact lower the power, but the ATR automatically raised it, which in turn destroyed the engines. Lastly, they did not provide the maintenance crew with adequate training and supplies in cleaning or de-icing the plane. In conclusion, after the incident, only 92 were reported injured and there were no deaths. The SAS began training its pilots to use the ATR system and it implemented new steps for de-icing the plane, which included providing stairs for mechanics to clean the wings. However, Captain Rasmussen was unable to work again because of lack of confidence in the plane. Per Hamburg sustained a broken collarbone and cuts to his head, and Cedermark broke his hands. They both went back to work after recovery. I now conclude this video. Thank you for watching.